We are Eagle Eye Technologies. That's the name, of course, that we decided for this GLO-BUS simulation. And I'm Jason Hachidi. Alex Chalupe and Kyle Roars are also in the team. And just to start, we're going to do the graphs, just to kind of see how we did from years 5 to 14. As you can see, our revenues kind of steadily increased, and then around year 12, 13, 14, they flatlined. Um, our earnings per share, kind of the same thing, except for year 8, which you should see all the graphs. Year 8 is kind of not a very good year for us, um, but the EPS kept going up. The ROE kept going up, and then of course there was a crash, went back up, and then flatlined. So this one's kind of all over the place. Our year-end stock price doing really well. Even in year 12, we got about $250. But then really tailed off at the end. Our credit rating has always been pretty high, and our image rating has always been like in that high 70s, low 80s range.
Actually,
Uh,
can I just say something real quick before we
yeah,
go
go
on,
ahead.
Jason?
Oops, go ahead.
I just want to say, looking at our graphs, you can see like we start off average once we took a dip at year 8, and then it's like we learned from our lesson and we're really going up. And then at the same time as like the virus started spreading, that's when everything started going down, kind of like a real world reflection.
Yeah, that's good insight. And for our strategic vision, we always wanted to. I'll just read it. Our vision is to pioneer the future of multifunctional time capturing technology. We will achieve industry leadership through product differentiation. And we thought product differentiation was the best way to tackle our vision because through product differentiation, our product will always be higher on the PQ rating scale. And we put a lot of money into R&D, developing new features, better ways of working our cameras, our UAV drones, and that's how we really wanted to lead the future by coming up with better features, better things for our cameras, for our like capturing devices.
All right, now these are our performance targets. So, looking at how everything was going, after year 12, we were kind of starting to balance out and really start to understand the system and starting to improve. So, from year 15, we kind of saw just like some nice scores, and then we're planning on year 16 to even go even higher. So, like everything from our earnings per share bump up $2, our return on equity bump up from 25 to 35%. Even our stock price are projected to keep going up. Our credit rating always remained kind of like at the A B category, and we're planning on just keeping it there. Then, of course, continue to improve our image.
Yeah, so as you'll see for our cameras and our drones, we had pretty similar strategies for both of them. We wanted to maintain pretty much the same strategy for all of our products, but for our cameras, we went with a global differentiation strategy. So we pursued strategy that would separate our product from the competition based on the quality of the product. So every customer would be happy to show off their new camera. So as Jason touched on a little bit earlier, with our cameras as well as our drones, we wanted to have products that had some of the best features on the market. And we really wanted to have a high PQ. And I think almost every year, if not every year, we had the highest PQ rating for our cameras as well as our drones. So I think we did a really good job in establishing this. Um, but we did find that in year 8, the year that we took the big dip, we found that we focused too much on putting a high PQ rating together with a lot of features, and we found that the production cost of our drones and our cameras was too much compared to the price that we were selling them for. So we had to start making some cuts and kind of readjust our strategy. We still went with the global differentiation, but we had to focus on not having like a super high product because the price we were charging for them wasn't enough to cover the high cost of production.
Right.
And then, yeah, this slide shows the competitive strategy for our drones, which, as I said earlier, very similar to our strategy for our cameras. So sell the best product for a reasonable price, and did this through constant improvements to our product week after week, getting a high PQ rating, And then now that we have the best product on the market, we then want to adjust our prices to keep them fair in each country and each region.
And so our production strategy, we wanted to have a high level of training for our employees and like the people making our cameras and our drones, so that they would really uh, like know how to make them efficiently and actually cut back a lot of our expenses by training them well. We wanted to keep up with the workstations as much as possible. So like if demand went up, we'd make more workstations. We didn't want to have too much overtime. Um, and we provided high incentives and bonuses packages for our employees. So there was like a really high attendance package, which really helped our production rates. There's um, like the yearly base salary improvement was like 3% or 4%. So it really incentivized our workers to really work hard, and we wanted people to enjoy working at our company. However, at the same time, we didn't want to spend unnecessary costs in overtime, and we tried to eliminate as much of that as possible. Um, so that's kind of the strategy that we want to implement with our production. And then for finance strategy, we wanted to create a high-end product, like we've been saying. And I know it starts out with a high price, and we kind of watch how the markets react, and then we use that data to adjust the prices accordingly. Like sometimes prices be higher in one region compared to another, even though it's the same product, just because of like the how the market reacted the year previous to year. Um, we wanted to avoid taking loans. I think we took one and paid it off pretty quickly. But we wanted to avoid taking loans just because we felt like our product was doing really well in creating revenue, and we didn't want to take on any unnecessary debt. Um, and then lastly, in the finance, we were always trying to keep our prices as low as possible, and only raising them if we would improve our product good enough, or we would improve our product and then we'd raise the price like according. So even though our product was the highest PQ rating, we've tried to keep the price as low as possible while still generating revenue.
So we saw our class as kind of like the big competitor, but overall, looking at everyone's progress, the one that was closest to us was Company F. Um, especially when it comes to like prices and stuff. Looking at like the competitive comparative chart, um, they were always the ones who were almost itching us. We were always a little above them when it came to like the overall ratings for that, but they were pretty close. We always kept high prices for our drones and cameras. They always matching that. Um, Even later on, when it came to PQ ratings, they were starting to come get their drones a little close to us, but never to our exact level.
Yeah,
Tyler,
so our strategy for competing against our rivals. So as mentioned earlier, our strategy from the get-go in this simulation was to have the really high quality product with high PQ rating and even image rating, and then charge premium prices based off of that because we had the best uh, product on the market. So moving forward in the simulation, we'd want to focus more on improving our image rating while maintaining our high PQ rating. Um, Again, we found that we had the highest PQ rating almost every year, if not every year, out of all the competitors. And our image rating was always among one of the highest. But there was one team that had a perfect image rating of 100, and so it was a little harder for us to try to compete with them as we had an image rating of around 80. And so even though we had the higher PQ rating, their higher image rating made up for that lack of difference in the PQ rating. And so we would want to improve our image rating, especially for the fact with the special contract offers. It would make it a lot easier on us. We could offer smaller discounts and still get a better value for it, or even, offer the same discount we were and it would be a higher value. And to try and maintain those special contract offers, or even win some of them back that we lost near the end of the simulation. And then we would then continue to price our products competitively to keep up with our competitors while still keeping with our premium pricing. So another strategic move we made throughout this simulation was we charged high prices for a product because it was the best on the market, but we also wanted to keep the price relatively close to our competitors because we knew if our price was so much higher than everyone else's, even if we had the best product, that that higher price would draw a lot of customers away from us. And so um, we would keep with our competitive pricing to where we were still within range of some of the other competitors, but where we still had that pricing where customers felt like they're getting premium, they're getting a good value because they're getting a good product.
Right. And this is just our lessons learned slide, like the last thing. Chalupa.
I'm putting mine in a little audio clip, so I don't know. But basically, for what I put is just stuff I learned is just running a successful business, managing that business internationally, team decision making, then understanding the many functions and operations that go with running an international business.
I guess for me, the things that I learned were like how to work well with a team and capitalize on everyone's strengths, like and minimize our weaknesses. So like something that I would not be good at, Kyle or Chalupe would take over and kind of do really well, or something they wouldn't really do at. Kind of like we could, delegate tasks, and kind of like each person definitely had their role on this team. I think we've meshed really well together and worked well together. I also learned the difficulties of competition and how like we can help each other. And by we, I mean like competition. People in the industry can help each other. Like I know they're competing against one another, but like you kind of need the competition to thrive and do better yourself. You know.
And then, yeah, finally, for me, the first thing I learned is small changes can make a big difference. A lot of the changes that we made to our product were small changes, but we found that they made a big difference over time. So it could have been something as simple as raising the price on our product by, $5 to $10, but it made a difference in how much we sold. Um, or even something as simple as giving our employees a little bit more incentive to work. It increased their production and overall made a big difference for us. The second thing was knowing what your competition is doing is important. As we mentioned, we found we were competing real closely with company F, and so I found it was important for us to take a look at what our competitors were doing and really found the value in seeing what your competitors are doing. Because if you're just focused on yourself, you're kind of putting yourself in this bubble. You really have to be aware of what the industry as a whole is doing, especially your competitors. And then finally, different markets and regions react and respond in different ways, meaning different strategies may be required. I know this was mentioned in the strategic guide or the manual we had to read at the beginning of the course, and it talked a little bit about that and how some of the regions are more attentive to sale prices, and then other regions are more attentive to having a good product. And so I found that it was pretty interesting that we had to change our strategy based off of what was working in each region, and that we almost had to have different strategies for each region. And so while we still wanted to have that main strategy of the high PQ rating, we had to change it in little ways in order to accommodate each region.
All right. I think that's it. Um, Thanks for listening to our presentation.